There's only three things that exist. What are they? I argue they are the physical realm, the mental realm, and the emotional realm. And that's it. There's nothing else outside of those things. So the physical one is the sum total of all your senses in every sort of way, shape, or form, sound, hearing, whatever. Emotional stuff is the feelings you get from things. And the mental side of things is your abstract thinking process. There's nothing outside of that. Think of something that's outside of it, you can't. You can project thought, you can feel stuff, you get physical experiences. Great. Why do we need to know about these three things? Well, each of the three things is accessed in different ways in film and video production. You look at the screen, you hear the sounds. These are very physical things that happen to you whilst watching any kind of video production. They in turn trigger emotional responses, and ideally they then turn into a mental aspect, which is a kind of story which you tell yourself whilst looking at these things. Now, these kind of stories that emerge out of images are universal in their language, as in anyone can understand them because they mimic reality. They're not like the English language, which I'm using right now, which is a bunch of different agreements and words and things. And if you can't speak English, you haven't got a clue what I'm saying. The film language is a language based in reality, which everyone at a certain level can understand. And indeed, because we're in a media-saturated society, everyone probably understands this language. So given this language is universal and absolutely everywhere in video production, and we're all rather fluent in it, whether we realize it or not, we have to be extremely careful to get this language correct. Otherwise, we'll trigger the wrong emotions and the wrong mental stories through the things we physically represent on the screen. What we then have to understand is that this language will start to form inside a person watching our productions. And if we're not very careful as to the type of methods we use to make our productions, then we could get the wrong kind of story or the wrong kind of emotion to trip in the people that are watching this thing. And that can be a problem. Now, the art of understanding this I call film language, which is a language which emerges out of our use of images and sound and all the rest of it. And that's something that we're going to explore. We have to understand the fundamentals of this, otherwise our productions may get out of control. We might lose control in terms of what the audience are experiencing in terms of emotion or the stories they tell themselves. For example,
in 1959, an advert premiered on UK television which tried to make a cigarette brand look cool. The producers thought a Frank Sinatra-like image would appeal to their audience. But what viewers saw was a lonely figure standing alone in the night in the rain for half of the advert with nothing much happening. Then, they are told this fellow is never alone when he's got his cigarettes. He blatantly is alone, and this clearly implies the product is for people with no friends. And it was a disaster.
So essentially the take-home is film and video production mirrors reality, and this has a separate language of its own, which is outside of our conventional languages such as English or French or whatever. Ideally, we need to be able to speak this language, in order to be able to manipulate our audiences correctly, and can rely on speaking this language to get brilliant emotional effects in the audience and tell fantastic stories. And that's the beef. So next session, we're going to do a simple exercise in terms of sticking some shots together, and this will enable us to see this mysterious language emerge from our screens. Now, we have to do it correctly, we have to do it well, otherwise our language will be garbled in a sense by not making the production as good as we can, but we'll cover that when we get there. See you next time, bye.